My name is Jon Hutman. I'm the production designer of the Nancy Meyers film Something's Gotta Give. Today we're going to talk about the sets in that movie, specifically the iconic Hamptons beach house. This is Something's Gotta Give. One of the fundamental things I realized about Something's Gotta Give is that if the story is a play, the house is the set.
Wow. It's the perfect beach house.
The entrance, which introduces you to the space. Marin opens the front door and she reveals the gorgeous two-story living room with a view overlooking the ocean. There's a dining room, French doors everywhere with a row of glass transoms, the hallway to the kitchen, and then the hallway to Erica's bedroom. And on the right-hand side of the living room is Harry's bedroom. Those are really, very simply, the parts that we see of the house. There's this great top shot where you see Jack Nicholson passed out. That blue, uneven striped Dury rug makes the room look contemporary and which puts you at the beach. You would not find that rug in somebody's Manhattan townhouse. The dark wood floors and the dark end tables gives you a level of contrast where everything in comparison to that feels pretty light. Everything is unified by what I call this seascape palette. It's like stylish enough that you want it, but casual enough that Jack Nicholson can crash out with his feet on the sofa and you don't feel like he's going to get in trouble if Erica walks in the front door. And there are two details in the living room which you don't see that much in the film. There's a small staircase which leads up to a loft which overlooks the living room, and at the bottom of that staircase there's this Swedish antique clock, and there's a painting over the fireplace by an American painter named Edward Pothast. The suggestion to use his art and the painting that we use actually came from Jack Nicholson. He owns that painting in his house.
Nice painting.
The other scene that was so important to Nancy was where Erica and Harry come from opposite sides of the living room and they meet in front of the windows in their pajamas and bathrobes, and they go into the kitchen. Those two axes going from the front door through the living room to the ocean, and then the perpendicular one with the bedrooms on either side, and creating that architecture are essential to the telling of the story. So she's in her bedroom in this raised bay window at an antique writing desk with a white schoolhouse chair. And I love that detail, the white schoolhouse chair with the antique writing desk. She's typing away on the computer and she looks out the French door to her right and she can see the light on in Harry's bedroom on the other side of the pool. And they end up IMing each other, or DMing. Is it DMing or IMing? He is also someone who stays up late at night, doesn't need much sleep. And notice that her desk looks out to the ocean, which is a very personal office, as opposed to into the room, which is a more typical corporate office. What's wonderful about the way it's set up is that they're kind of on opposite wings of the house with a view across the pool between each other's bedrooms. But if you notice, Erica's bedroom is a little bit blue. Harry's bedroom is a little bit of that kind of beach sandy yellow. We intentionally put her desk in this elevated bay window at the far end of the bedroom. If you understand that Erica writes in her bedroom, that's what gives Harry the reason to show up in her bedroom in the middle of the night. The layout of the house absolutely has to support the staging of the action that happens there. If you walked into Erica's bedroom, if you really turned into where the bathroom is supposed to be, you would be in the hallway between Erica's bedroom and the dining room. So that's a little cheat that nobody is aware of in the house.
You're dating my daughter?
Now, who would have thought that would be worse news?
Everybody remembers the kitchen from this house. And there's a practicality when you're designing a kitchen, which is there has to be a triangle between refrigerator, sink, and stove. And this kitchen, like Nancy's kitchen, but in a different layout, has two islands. The primary counter material is this dark gray stone called bluestone. Ours was actually fake because it was a movie. But then there's another island which runs perpendicular, which separates the kitchen from the family room part. And the countertop there is a dark mahogany, which ties into the floor. And there's two other things that you should notice about that kitchen. I prefer glass cabinet doors with just horizontal mullions. And the important thing is you got to proportion your cabinets so that those mullions hide the lines of the shelves inside. The other little detail is that decorative corbel bracket, which looks like it supports the upper cabinets. It's just a detail. But it's a love detail. I love it. There's a couple of French chairs in there. One of them is upholstered with raffia, and it's by this little octagonal rose tarlo table right by the door. They're just little touches. They hint at a romantic possibility. Somebody who likes those kinds of French pieces is still capable of falling in love.
Never been married, Harry?
No. No, I haven't.
Wow. Now, why do you think that is?
I love the plate shelf in the dining room, and I love those slip-covered French chairs with the little bows on the back. That is like delicious. And the toile fabric on the chairs has a kind of off-white background with a kind of blue and green pattern. It's French, and that bow detail feels feminine and beachy. I love the bookshelves. I love the bookshelves. She's a writer. She's got to have shelves of books. I love that the couches are light blue linen with a slightly darker blue piping. The inspiration for this house came from a combination of interior magazines. House and Garden was big. There was a magazine called Metropolitan Home, and we loved this French magazine called Côte Sud. Here's another little detail. This is unbelievable. I met this woman and they said, "Oh, this is Diana. She loves Something's Gotta Give." And I said, "Oh, you're so sweet." I said, "But I don't invent any of this stuff. I'm really like a good collector and synthesizer of details. I just have really good research." And she said, "It's so funny you should say that because you know that plate shelf in the dining room?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's my house." And I'm like, "What?" Her house, she has a little country house in Connecticut, and that had been published in House and Garden magazine, and we loved it, and we were like, "Oh, that's what the plate shelf should look like."
I got you something great at the farm stand.
The exterior of this house is a real house in Southampton, New York, on a street called Meadow Lane. The back side of this house sits right on the ocean. Like a lot of houses in the Hamptons, if you drive by this house, what you'll see is a gigantic, gigantic hedge. And what we ended up doing is shooting the front side of that house. The back side, when you're on the beach, was another house which was in Watermill. And that beach where we built the steep stairs actually led to a tiny little house that, believe it or not, belonged to Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft. And they lived there for years. And then the interior of the house we built on a soundstage in Los Angeles. And one of the things that attracted us to this particular house, it's really a single woman's house. It's a 2-bedroom house, but you don't walk in and ask yourself, where's the second story? Where are the other bedrooms? Marin talks about the 2-story living room, and you don't get to see it much, but there's actually a little staircase that goes up to a loft overlooking the living room, but we never go up there. So it really plays as a 2-bedroom, 1-story house, even though the exterior is a 2-story house. And I think you never ask the question. The other thing that was really interesting to me is this is a second home. So a lot of people's history belongs in their permanent residence, whereas a beach house has this transient getaway feeling. And there's something about that style that lives comfortably at the beach.
I'm in the restaurant, and just wondering if you're on your way. It's about 8:20. It's a lovely night out here.
Of the 4 films that I've done with Nancy, this feels like the most personal. This movie in particular, and this Hamptons beach house most of all, kind of epitomizes when people talk about the Nancy Meyers aesthetic. I think this house represents that.